Hello, good morning, my dear students, my dear thinkers. This is your Tinker Master Srinivas from scientificstudents.com slash tinker-masters.html. Here, my today's tinkering on this 28th May 2025. I have a sump motor here. So, the biggest problem I am facing with this sump motor. See, whenever the water is full in my sump, I will switch on the motor. But the problem is, I don't know when to stop this sump motor. But you all know that if any motor is on with no water, that's called dry run. Then the motor will go bad. That's why I have a float switch here. Okay, this is float switch. So now it is floating. Okay. So I want to make sure my float switch will go down so that at a level where the water go below that level, then my float switch will switch off the power to this motor. This tinkering I wanted to do it now. So that's why here I am using a load. Otherwise this float switch will come up. That's why. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, you see, I'm hanging. You see, my float switch will go automatically inside. You see, earlier it is not going inside with the weight given by this float switch manufacturer. That's why I've increased the weight. See, now because of the dead weight, so float switch also is going down. See, because that is more weight. So now you can observe one interesting thing. The float switch is hanging in the water, but the direction is up above the dead weight. You see? See, dead weight is coming very much down. Okay. So I am sending my dead weight down. That is pulling my float switch also down to the water level. I can go up to whatever level I want. So I have already kept my dead level. So at where I wanted to switch off the motor. So if water going below the dead weight level, then automatically my float switch will go down the dead level. That's it. Automatically electrical connection is disconnected to my motor. You understand, my dear children? This is how we need to tinker something. Why wasting water? Why wasting the motor electricity and life of the motor? So you all need to understand all that. Okay? So let me do that. I'll do this tinkering and then I'll show you how it works like. Okay? Okay then. Hello, my dear students. So we have connected the float switch in series to the main switch of my motor connection, the 230 volts AC connection. Now I am going to ask my student to switch on the motor. Then let us see whether the motor works or not. As the float switch is in series in the electrical connection to the motor. So if it conducts, then the motor works. Let's see that. Okay. So switch on the motor. Motor is switched on and it is pumping. The motor is pumping because I can see the water is going down. Now you can see the float switch is coming up because water is going down. And you see the float switch, you can see literally the float switch. Okay. So when the water go to the level of the dead weight, at that time our float switch will also go down because there is no water. That's what I wanted to show you now. Okay. Then we need to see whether the motor stops or not automatically. Now you all can see the float switch very nicely. it has come out, and it is going down because water also is going down. With the same water level, the float switch is also going down. I am just zooming it so that you can see more clear. I am going inside the sump so that you can see better. See, it's going down. Now you all see, my dear friends, the interesting fact is the water is going below to the dead level. So automatically the position of the limit switch, the float switch is going to be vertical. At that time the motor has to be switched off. Okay, my dear students, we have done the required tinkering. You see, the motor is switched off because float is less than the dead weight, under the dead weight. Now the water is coming up. You see, our panchayat water, municipal water is coming and increasing the level of the sump. Then the float switch, because water is pushing the float switch. Then let us see what's happening there. Motor has to get automatically on. Once the level of float switch, you see it's pushing up. Though the dead weight is stopping the float switch to come up, but still the force offered by the water and the float switch is trying to push the float switch up. Then automatically we will see the situation now. Already my motor power is on. Power connection to my motor is already on. Okay, my dear students. Motor power connection is on. So I am also waiting how the float switch will escape from the dead weight, because the dead weight is stopping it in the corner. So whether the water force will be sufficient enough to keep my float switch up. If the float switch is up, then the electrical connection will get established, and whatever phase power is going to the float switch, that will return back to the motor, and motor will be on. We can use the same float switch even to stop the motor when the water reaches the maximum level of the sump, but we have to use a different connection. But here I am trying to connect this float switch so that my motor will be automatically stopped when the water goes deadline. See, the water is slowly rising. Slowly rising. And once the water reaches and comes up above the dead weight, then the float switch will come out from the dead weight. So I am also waiting for the situation. As the water is coming a bit slow today, That's why it is taking a little more time. But doesn't matter. It is better for you to understand in a slow process. If it is happening faster, then you won't be able to see the real fact. You see? Now the water is going to be above the dead weight. It's slowly touching the dead weight. You see, my dear friends? Then the water will push the float switch above the dead weight. Only the drawback of this kind of system is we are connecting 230 volts AC to the float switch, and it looks like it is totally perfectly sealed so that water cannot enter into the float switch inside the connection. As long as that is true, nothing happens. Or otherwise, the 230 volt AC, if it leaks to the water, all our water pipelines will give us shock. Now you see, my dear friends, the float switch is trying. I am a bit excited to see the situation. As if pregnant rower coming out from the rower. That much I am excited to show you now. Let's see, another 1 minute. Then you will see the motor sound. See, 3/4 of the float switch body has come out above the dead weight. And then the float switch will change its direction. Once the direction is up above, it is up direction. That's it. Electrical connections will take place inside the float switch. Don't ask me a question. That the dead weight also is floating in the water as the level comes up. No, it cannot happen. It's very heavy now, almost 2 kg. So it cannot, water cannot lift that because it's a dead weight. It's not like your boat kind of body. It's a solid body. All the mass is at one place. Like you know, the example, 1 rupee coin will not float. But if you take a thin sheet of the metal, then that will float. So that is the same principle will also take place here. You see, the float switch is trying to come out. Almost 3/4 of float switch is escaping from the place. And after another 1 minute, load out. The float switch will come out. If the motor power is on, automatically it will be on. Because already phase is there in the float switch. Just the float switch is to return connect through the contacts of the float switch. That will take place only when the water level comes up. Then that will be on. So it's a margin level. But to switch off the motor, to switch on the switch off the motor and switch on the motor, it's a margin level. If you don't have that much of cushion, then that will be a little bit trouble. Motor will be always on, fastly. Then that will go bad. Because starting current and running current of the motor will keep changing. That will be a problem. Though it's a bit pain for me to sit like this and record it for you, but I'm taking the pain to show you the exact situation so that you all will enjoy the connection. See, the water level is above the dead weight. That's why the float switch also is trying to escape. Though the dead weight is not allowing it to come up, because water is pushing now. That's why it is slowly trying to escape from the weight of the dead weight. Maybe from that corner it will take place. My dear students, my dear thinkers, see the float switch has come out. So it is just waiting for the electrical connection to take place. Another 30 seconds. See, the water is coming up more than the dead weight. So now my float is just off the way to change its direction. See, now float switch is taking its direction. It is going to be vertical now. Earlier it is flat. That's why the switch is not getting connected inside. Now the connection is going vertical. Then you will see the surprise. I am very excited to show you this. So you can ask me a question. What is the mechanism inside this float switch making the electrical connections to come up? Which is very important, my dear students. Very important to understand. When the float switch is going below the dead weight, how it is stopping the electrical connection to the motor. Now when the water is raising its level, making the float switch vertical, because it is trying to float, and how the electrical connection is going to establish to the motor. Motor is still ready. Any moment it might receive the electricity, I mean the phase power. Already neutral is directly connected and the main switch is also on. Now the float switch has to give the phase power went into the float switch and it has returned. It will return only when the float switch is properly vertical. So it is good one way. It is not switching on the motor without water. So let the motor is on only when the minimum level is maintained. It is good. According to my observation, as of now, my sump has reached 1/4 of its capacity. So it is nice for me. My people can switch on my motor only when there is minimum of 1/4 level of the water of the capacity of the my sump. Then only this float switch will allow them to keep the motor on. Otherwise, physically they will be on. They can switch on, but functionally motor will not be on because float switch will not allow the power to go. So because today water is coming bit slow into my sump, you got some time to understand all these points. So thanks to my panchayat people to deliver the water bit slow, so that all my mentees, all my students can understand the real world scenario in a more practical way. See the change of direction. It's changing. The direction is changing. Anytime it can connect face to my motor. That is the situation. You can hear the motor sound also. I hope you all are enjoying understanding the basic circuits. This is also one kind of basic circuit. Energy source and the switch and the load as a motor as a load. But very interesting critical point is what makes the float switch connect to the power at this point of time. The point of time is coming very close now. Motor will be switched on at any moment. Almost 60 to 70% has come out to make sure the float switch is going to be on. So another 1 minute for you guys to see the historic connections established. Then you can hear the motor on sound also. Students, my dear mentees, the time has come now. The float switch is taking total its direction. Now and then, at any moment, you will see the motor sound on. You see, it's going to make it happen now. The electrical connection is going to be established within the float switch. Yes. Countdown started. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Dear friends, 90% its direction has changed. 10% has to change. Then you will see the motor sound. 6. I am really excited to see this automatically motor on, and it will be off when the level goes down to the deadline. 5. Very nicely it is controlled. Internal connection is well controlled. That's why it is not on. 4. Now I won't say 3 because I want to see the motor is on. Then only I will say 3 now. Because it has to be fired. My rocket has to be fired now. Satellite is all set in the rocket. My children are very much excited and waiting. Now the required uplift, the thrust required uplift is trying to establish. Then at any moment now, I think by this time it has to switch on. I have to check whether power is there or not. Yeah, power is there. My Menti confirmed. The 230 volts regular utility line is there. The power is there available. All the connections were properly made. Almost 30% of my sump capacity filled with water. Now anytime my motor gets on automatically. So that is how we have balanced the dead weight position. Yes, 95% my float switch is ready for connecting electrical connections. It is standing very nicely now. It properly stands means electrical connection will take place. There should not be any loose connections within the float switch. It must act like a digital connection. Yes or no, high or low, connect or disconnect, on or off only. No intermediate connections in the float switch connection. That is how they have designed it. That's why it is waiting for the perfect connection, the perfect time, the perfect position. Then it happens. The dead weight won't allow the float switch to float anymore. The water level will sink the float switch also now. Because whatever sag of the cable between dead weight and the float switch is going to be over when the level of the sump is going more than, then automatically the water will be more than the float switch. At that point, the float switch will stand properly and then automatically it will connect the electrical connection. 97% water has come into the sump inside to keep the float switch very much vertical. I can see literally. So only 10-degree tilt is there. That 10-degree is going to be flat. It has now become 5-degree. Yes, count down 3. Water is coming up above the float switch. That's where the level is. The float switch, you can see the level very much vertical. Count down 2. My dear students, now 100% the float switch vertical. Now I can say count down 1. Oh, wonderful. It is now pumping the water. Okay. You see the motor is now pumping. It's switched on, man. At one countdown 0. Successfully it has come up. Very nice. When water level go down, because we are pumping the water to my overhead tank, then automatically it will be off. When the water goes down, then the deck level, then automatically it will be off. Okay, then signing off, your Tinker Master Srinivas from scientificstudents.com/tinker-masters.html. Bye bye.